Thank you for your presence here today. Anytime that there's extra time in our schedules, when things change and we don't have the normal work schedule or school schedule, it's always on the heart of the ministers that people would then step into more prayer time. That if we have free time, it should be just like our experience of being in love. That we want all of our free time with the person we love, with those that we love. And so on a holiday, that we're always carving out a little more time for God. And that we gather in this way. And today we come together in a special, very special way. And because of where we live, this holiday, this Memorial and Remembrance Day, is even more important for us as people of faith because of the way it evolved and the way it's leading us. The same movement and pilgrimage that the Easter readings bring us, that the risen Christ brings us. See, today is a memorial of those who have paid the sacrifice for our freedom, but it's also the reminder that we all, each one of us, belongs to God. That the possession of us is not of one another, but of God of us. And that we are instruments of Him. And that everything that we do can, with the light of Christ, lead others to a healthy relationship with God, but which makes them healthy in their relationships with one another. Memorial Day for us in America is a unique experience because it grew out of Decoration Day. A day where people, right after the Civil War, would decorate the graves of those that they lost. And if we think about a Memorial Day that grew out of a war where both sides were Americans. That's unique to some of the Memorial Days that are celebrated throughout Europe and the world. This patriotic holiday grew from a conflict from within. Aren't those usually some of the most heartfelt and struggling of all of us? The conflicts within the family cause usually the most pain and strife. This was a conflict within the very association of a country, and out of that grew today, because it's an acknowledgement that mirrors the message of Christ, that there's no winners or losers in war. There's only pain. Because when the conflict reaches the point where we take it out on the other side, then we're going to break up the loving relationships that had already existed. That for war, there's pain. And that both sides are equally dignified by God. And there is the big obstacle. The big obstacle then, how do we move forward? Well, we return ourselves to God. This experience of Decoration Day was meant for us to really appeal that where have the dead gone? I'm a big fan of cemeteries. My first job at 16 years old was working at Peninsula Memorial Park in Newport News, Virginia. 65 acres of perpetual care. We cut the grass and weed it around the tombstones. We cut the bushes and made the place look manicured and beautiful because people honored their loved ones there who had passed before them, people who had sacrificed in their own life to give them love and education and way of life. And so it was always a peaceful place, and you knew that the work that you did there had to be dignified because of the sanctity of the place. And anytime there was a veteran burial. As a young 16-year-old, I was always enamored by what? Then the community of the services coming together in uniform and in ceremony and in ritual to pay honor to their sacrifice. You know, we are a people of a Catholic faith that likes ritual and circumcision, all of that whole thing. We do ceremony. The whole world was watching as the Pope was selected because of what? The grandeur of everything about it. And the way in which we honor the dead. Those who sacrifice is important. I encourage all young people to get a job at the cemetery, at least for one summer. It's a life-changing thing. This day was always a special day for one of my mentors, Monsignor Jerry Lewis, who would call me to pick him up, and we would drive to Oakwood Cemetery in downtown Raleigh. And we would meander through the place, and he would tell me, because of his age, the stories behind the names on the tombstones. And the great, witness to the ministry of his whole life out there. But we would always end on Memorial Day our visit to the cemetery at the Civil War section. And we would stop and pray. Have any of you been to the Civil War section at Oakwood? Raise your hand. It's an amazing place because of how that happened. Being a history minor from James Madison University, the first time Monsignor took me there, I said, "Why is there a Civil War section? There was no battle here." And he told me the story. And it's beautifully memorized in the plaques up there. North Carolina lost a great number of people, especially from Wake County, at the battle at Gettysburg. Great loss of life. And after the war, the families, still not settled with no return of so many loved ones, started to bring together groups, and they traveled to Pennsylvania to go through the painstaking process of finding the remains of their loved ones on that great, big, immense battlefield of Gettysburg. And there were already movements of trying to know where the different divisions were and map it out so that they might then be able to find their loved ones. And over the course of 12 years, they were able to bring back whom they believed was their loved ones. And they started that section at Oakwood. Those are veterans who died away and are brought back to be close to home so that their families might be more settled. That's a beautiful tribute to the way our heart is. Because the truth is when the Lord calls us, whether it be acts of violence or accidents, that we will return to the Lord, but who needs the help is the living. That we make sense of who we are. That we try to bring some sort of justice to things that happen that cause us pain. That we are connected to the dead only so that we can live better. Brothers and sisters, we are temporarily here in this gift of life. And what we do with our life matters. And because of Christ, we're not stuck with the final chapter in any of our relationships of love. That an act of war, an accident, an illness is not going to stop the ability for us to have our relationship with God and love and each other. And people ask, how does that happen? That's the mystery of Christ. That Jesus pulls us into this new reality. The empty tomb reality. And yet, we struggle with that. Sometimes we think life has been lost. And it's because we forget that there's three parts to our life. There's body, mind, and spirit. And the greatest of these is spirit. It's the spirit that carries and imbues and makes our love known to the world. It's the spirit that can stop choosing sides and choose life. It's the spirit that brings us always to the expression of love that becomes the reflection of our heart muscle, the automatic yes. Today we celebrate Memorial Day, not because we are stuck in the tomb, but because of life. We are to live and to honor them. Already? We are to be light. We are to be people who know that our life is short, but that we are to bring people to love. We are to bring them goodness. We are to share kindness. We are to create something lasting in ourselves. That when people visit our graves, a smile comes to their face, and they remember us because we sacrificed for their own good. And then we go home to God, where we're able to be with each other forever. For all of those who have served our country, many blessings to you and your families. To all of us, let us remember on this day that our life belongs to God. And in that, we belong to goodness, love, and truth, which will light the world. Amen.